It's The World This Week, 7 days, 4 Paris-based correspondents, 1 hour. The World This Week in partnership with the Daily Beast. We say hello to Erin Zaleski.
Hello.
How are you?
Better moments and worse moments.
Better moments and worse moments. Erin, while you were the American in Paris on election night, the rest of our panel was in the United States. Let's say hello to Claude Guibal, senior correspondent for French public radio station France Inter.
Hello.
Welcome. Welcome back as well to France24.com, senior editor Lila Jacinto.
Hi.
And from sister station Radio France International, Elena Servitas of the Russian language section. Claude Guibal, you spent several weeks on the campaign trail, mostly covering Donald Trump. The data we're starting to get from the election shows that it wasn't just angry white men who voted for him.
It wasn't just angry white men, a lot of Latinos, 30% of the Latinos voted for him, which is quite interesting. And that shows one thing, that actually Latinos have a lot in common with the Republicans.
Did you get a sense of that on the campaign trail? That it was, that the story we were telling wasn't what you were seeing?
Actually, when I started reporting in Florida last September, I had this very weird feeling because there was the anger of the white men, but also what really struck me a lot was the delusion of the others, of the Democrats, of the people who didn't want to go to vote. I mean, 98% of the Americans did not show up at the polls. I know that the turnout is always very low.
54% was the number I saw.
Yeah. And it's not the first. It's not the first time, and it's not a record. But still, you know, people were so fed up, really fed up, and so many people wanted to have a change, you know, and that's what they were asking for. You know, they wanted someone to shake up things.
Did you get a sense of that? You said you were in Florida.
Yes, I was in Florida as well, and I was very surprised as well to see many Latinos to vote for Trump. And moreover, I met one lady, and she founded a association, Latinos for Trump. So she was fighting like 2 points for those who thought that he was against women. So I'm a woman, I vote for Trump. And the second thing, which was surprising for me, it was when I saw Cuban Americans, because I had this Russian, way of thinking about Cuba, says they all were for Trump. The only man who surprised me the most, it was the mayor of Miami, who was Cuban. He was brought to Miami when he was a child during this operation, Pedro Pen, and he told that I will not vote for Donald Trump.
But Cubans, that's more understandable because Obama normalized relationships.
Sure. But you still have this mayor of Miami who saw all this story, who suffered from the regime. His family was the dissident in Cuba, and so he said, I will not endorse Donald Trump.
Lila Jacinto, if it's not just angry white men, what does that tell you about this election?
Well, I mean, angry white men did overwhelmingly vote for Trump. But I mean, let's not absolutely forget that a black man was voted into the White House twice. So, you know, it is absolutely wrong, I think, to classify Trump supporters as totally racist. What's happening is, of course, Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party did not understand exactly what a reviled figure she is and what she represents. But for me, really, François, more basically, what I find when I go back to the U.S., this is my home country, I didn't grow up in the U.S., is what you really see is a singular lack of poor education. Which strikes everybody when you go to the U.S. And you can couch it, and politicians have to take back their words when they call these people deplorables. But this is a superpower that is served by very poor education levels, and this is why you're seeing this kind of voting in these states. And of course, then there is the electoral college system, which every election we discuss the problems of the system, and it just does not change because Americans, view their constitution, view their system with almost sort of religious fervor, that to even, conceive of these kind of major shakeups and changes is just not possible. So time and again, we see, these same games playing up.
It's sour grapes from the losers when you start talking about the electoral college, Erin Zaleski?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I think people have been... There's been talk about the Electoral College for a while, and that it's a flawed system and it needs reforming. I'm sure, yes, could there be a few sore losers, but I think that this just a situation like this where she did significantly win the popular vote versus the electoral vote, it's going to bring this issue up into the forefront again.
All right. After the first full week since the election, still anyone's guess just how Donald Trump will govern. Turning heads at the start of the week, news that the former boss of Breitbart, a news website awash with conspiracy theories favored by the far right, he's to become Donald Trump's chief strategist. Then there was Tuesday's transition turmoil with the sacking of 2 national security advisors. And when the New York Times reported that foreign leaders were having trouble getting Trump Tower on the telephone, the Donald shot back with several tweets, first proclaiming it's going so smoothly, and then saying the failing New York Times story is so totally wrong on transition. It is going so smoothly. I have spoken to many foreign leaders. What's your sense of this, Aaron Zaleski, on how the transition has gone?
Well, I think it's still happening. I mean, it's generally when you go, the outgoing administration is so different from the incoming administration that there is going to be a certain...
This is par for the course.
Yeah, this is par for the course. There's going to be a certain amount of chaos involved in that.
Lila Jacinto?
I don't know. I mean, Theresa May could not get through to Trump headquarters until the day after. I mean, the US and the UK has a special relationship. The New York Times piece talked about heads of state staff just cold calling Trump Towers. This is a complete outsider. He does not have, the pool of Republican support. These are many positions to fill in Washington, and he does not have that. Right now we are seeing he's announced 5 candidates so far. They're all white men, old white men. There's no diversity in this, no. So I think it is yes, transitions are always never smooth, but this is exceptionally not smooth.
But it's not over yet. I heard about that one Indian woman. She was a governor from
Governor Nikki Haley of South Carolina. She's meeting with him, but we
so we don't know yet. So it's not maybe not some time
yet,
to say that all the men are white.
So far, it's been a troubling pattern of white, not just white men, but far right white men.
There's the Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions, who didn't get a federal judgeship because back in 1986 at a confirmation hearing, it turned out that he had called an African-American attorney in court boy. And we're hearing that the current minority leader in the Senate, Claude Guibal, is saying he's going to make it tough to confirm him as attorney general. And when you look at this power struggle, and the judiciary branch and the executive branch and the legislative branch, what's your view as a French reporter going to the United States?
For me, it's quite puzzling. It's very hard to understand the dynamics. And also, as Jacinta said, he's an outsider, so it's very hard to know who's going to rule, if he's not a puppet, but if he's manipulated by the GOP, or if he's alone and doing things by himself. I mean, it was really interesting to see the importance he gave to his kids in the transition team. I mean, that's, for me, I perceive it as a signal as a lonely man or someone who needs protection, someone who needs people he can really rely on. I think is in the midst of there is a struggle, but what is interesting now is the people you appointed or the people you nominated are, as you said, white men, hardliners. Some of them are white supremacists or close to racist thesis. Have no problems with politically incorrectness. So the uncertainty we had at the beginning when he was elected, nobody knew what's going to happen. Now there is a path that is slowly shown, and it's quite scary, actually.
Just one thing I want to add on, on Bannon's, because I was in the U.S. when his announcement came through, and what I did see, and what also strikes me about America, is that how quickly the anti-Trump people organized and got motivated and started setting out an agenda. And that's really, that is the can-do American spirit. And absolutely everybody I knew, I mean, this is my world, of course, had called up their representatives and their senators to protest his appointment. So, the activist community is extremely in high gear right now. They're already planning things for Jan 20th, Inauguration Day. So, some of these nominations may face some trouble at the Senate.
All right, one that won't go to the Senate is National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, a former lieutenant general. He was one of Trump's closest advisors on the campaign trail. Fired in 2014 from the Defense Intelligence Agency. Officials there cited poor management skills. He claimed it was because of hard truths about the war on what he calls Islamist extremism. Back in February, he tweeted, "Fear of Muslims is rational." Also raising eyebrows, Flynn's trip to Moscow last year, where he dined with President Putin and spoke at an anniversary celebration for Russia Today, the Kremlin-backed English language news network.
Exactly. Everybody was surprised to see him next to Margarita Simonyan, who's the chief editor of Russia Today, next to Vladimir Putin. And after that dinner, he stated in one interview that we have to work together with Russia to think over the Syrian conflict. So we are very interested to know what's going to happen next, because at the same time you have Senator John McCain and Lindsey Graham, who are very accurate about, who are very concerned about Russia. And John McCain, if I don't mistake, he's the chief of military committee in
Armed Services Committee.
Yeah, exactly, for Syria. So these two men have to show the line normally for the president. At the same time, you have this Mike Flynn, who is shown the complete support, but he was against Iraq in 2003.
We did a show on this earlier in the week, and one of the things people said is, all right, these are hardliners or people who are perhaps cozying up to Putin, but it's a chance for everyone to save face now and to perhaps have a reset that could be beneficial for everyone.
So you mean
between the Russians and the West?
I'm not sure it will be working. What I think going to happen, that we will see Republican and Democrats gather together in a Congress and work together against Russian president. What I think.
And against the White House, you're saying?
Why not?
Remember when the reset was talked about when Bush was elected for the first time, and Bush famously looked into Putin's eyes and saw a good man, and then had to quickly revise his opinion. So
he saw his soul, he said.
Exactly. In fact, France 24 did an interview with Viktor Khodorkovsky in Brussels, and he was asked about, could Trump's election change U.S.-Russian relations? And Khodorkovsky, a man who knows Putin's power very well, said this honeymoon is going to get over pretty soon. So.
This week's Economist memes the American Revolutionary War painting, The Spirit of 76. It's got on its front cover, there you see Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, Nigel Farage, the headline, The New Nationalism. If you look very closely to the left of your screen, there's Delacroix's Ode to France's 1948 Revolution, Liberty Leading the People. That's Marine Le Pen as well in a corner of the frame there. Claude Guibal,
I'm looking for Erdogan.
We had Brexit.
Yes.
We have the election of Donald Trump. This is not an American phenomenon; it's a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah, it is a worldwide phenomenon. It is. People, I can't explain it, but we are now living in a world shaped by TV reality, by ratings, by likes, by followers. And it doesn't matter why you are famous for, if you are famous for a sex tape or if you're famous for your achievements. And people don't care, seem not to care about the facts anymore, seems to care about the popularity of someone you don't know why. So who cares about, for instance, what Donald Trump is promising? Who cares about what he's saying? I was at his victory party in New York last week, lucky me. And first thing he said when he got on the stage was to thank Secretary Hillary Clinton and ask people to be grateful for what she has done to the same woman, he called a crooked, a liar. He called the audience to lock her up. But who cares? Contradictory. Who cares?
Aaron Zaleski, the plausible deniability of the stuff he said on the campaign trail, is it all going to blow over in this new era we live in?
I don't know about that because, yes, there's this argument that he's going to be much more moderate once he's elected into the White House. He said that to get votes, to tap into the anger and disillusionment a lot of people were feeling, especially the swaths of the less educated people in the center of the country. But then when you see thus far, okay, the story isn't over, but the people who he's tapped for his cabinet, to me, that's exactly, that fits with his rhetoric.
You hang on, you say less educated people, but the exit polls we see show that the poor actually voted more for Hillary Clinton. It is the middle class that voted for Donald Trump. What does that tell you?
But it still has the quality of the education. I mean, you compare the
Are
quality.
you sure it's an issue of education? Are you
Absolutely
sure?
Just
I saw many people from Wall Street, from Goldman Sachs, and voting for Trump,
Yeah.
and I was very surprised. And normally, they were explaining me during my interview that the market will react strangely. We don't know what to expect, but they still came and voted for Trump. And I think their education is quite correct.
I mean, a lot of, what we saw, which was this whole shock, is that it is with the US, there's very minutiae, granular looking at polls and breaking down of exit, but the big pictures all gets lost, which are very obvious, This rightward slide has been happening for the past 3 decades. This happened in India. We just stopped. We weren't not paying attention because there's no Soviet Union. There's no backing for left-wing groups. There is also this kind of this discourse that we in the media do not question, which is the politicians are just corrupt. The politicians are doing a bad job. When I was in the US, I was speaking mostly to young people, and they were just parroting this, the politicians are bad. And I tried to break it down. So what are they bad? They are being re-elected. They stand for re-election. The process is working. What is the problem? No, nobody could articulate what the problem was. Whether it's France or the US, a 4% rating for François Hollande, really, is he that bad? But, we just take this as, the politicians are failing us. And so, these demagogues that feed on fear and hype
are
up
taking
media
advantage of it.
Right.
We're going to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching The World This Week.